for those in attendance and UFC fans watching around the world, this is the moment you've all been waiting for. Live with the best father and son team on the internet. It's time for Homie and the Dude.
All right, we are here. This is Homie and the Dude.
As someone who is constantly told don't meet your heroes, I say fuck that, meet your heroes, because some of them are incredible.
We got a fucking Olympian, I know.
On the podcast. It's crazy.
Let's talk about the Olympics.
So, China, just to put the disclaimer out there, I love China.
Got into stoicism about three or so years ago. You know, when I fought at the London Olympics, I'd been doing judo for 20 years already.
You're a young guy, and it was probably a pretty like substantial thing in your life.
Yeah, boy. All right, hold on. This is the non-crying moment right here. We're right in that zone, the non-cry.
Bah! Right? Guy number 1 gets another like, bah! The guy number 50 gets another like,
a battle rap would be like, boom, boom, boom,
yeah.
Right? This stuff, sad. But when you hear like a waving song comes up, you're gonna be doing a waving style, you know what I mean? Or if you're doing something where there's hitting on the beat, or if you're top rocking because it's a funky song, or black, you know what I mean?
Oh, another quote is, you are already the supervillain in someone else's story, and you don't know it.
That is amazing.
How does it feel to be a fucking pioneer of a sport, dude? You're one of the guys that's really pushing one-wheeling forward and inventing tricks and stuff. How does that feel, dude?
I definitely am aware of that fact. It's almost so rad and so unique that it almost doesn't really feel real.
Yeah, my shit was like completely off. That's all I'm saying.
A lot of the work I do is big work, so it means I'm going to be spending time with that person, just me and them, and there's going to be a lot of those days that combine together to make their finished tattoo. I want to make sure I enjoy the people I'm spending my days with.
You're the coolest person I've ever met.
I was just gonna say,
you're literally the coolest person. What the fuck is going on right now?
Black is the power, black is my skin. Deep are the roots that this culture's within. Black.
boom! I love acting stuff. And oh boy, the guys like, everyone's like this on the ground. Everyone's swinging tired.
This is the original stamp.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's multiple stamps, obviously.
So, the old skateboarding origin story. I don't even like your skateboarding, but you're good enough to be pro.
Is I am never attacking and I am never defending. I am simply just waiting for an opportunity.
Boom. I'm an adult. I've seen a lot of things and I have no idea what that was.
And that was just season 1. This next season is going to be bigger and even better quality, with us adding comedy skits and tabletop gaming to our content. So, get comfy, find us at Homie and the Dude, subscribe to YouTube, like and follow on Facebook, and follow on Instagram, and then enjoy season 2. We'll see you then.
What is up, everyone? I am so glad to be here for UFC 265, with a headline being Derrick Lewis and Ciryl Gane. This is Homie and the Dude, the father and son podcast and tabletop gaming network. As you can see, we usually have 2 chairs here. We have 1 here today, and that is me. It turns out that my son and co-partner and running mate, Bodie, has been grinding hard for over a year, and he is taking a well-deserved break this weekend with his girlfriend, and they're out camping in a cool little spot in southern England near the water. So I'm with you tonight. I hope you guys enjoy the show. We've got a lot of very, very cool things to cover, but most of all, we're here because of the fights, and it's going to be a good night. We have, I was looking at this card earlier, and I was talking to Bodie about it, and I was like, man, this has got to be the weakest card for a pay-per-view that I have ever seen. And in retrospect, I don't think that's the case. I've looked at it again. I've looked at all the fights from the top to the bottom, and I reckon there's some real good fights in there. So we will have a look at it from fight to fight, and we'll let you know kind of what we think. Chris Zimmerman, what you doing, bro? You say the card should be fire. Dude, I'm actually turning around now. There's some good fights in there. Jose Aldo fights. This dude Faez, who's got smoke behind him right now, fights. We've got a really good Michael Chiesa versus Vicente Luque fight that I'm really looking forward to. So, yeah, it should be pretty banging. Chris, good to see you here, homie. Future Anime, yeah, what's up, dude? You too, man. We're all here together. Like always, get yourself some shares out there. Let's build this community up and have a good night. We've got some things to talk about before the fights start, definitely. One of them is the headline and the main card for the headline fight for this card is an interim heavyweight championship. We're going to talk about that because we all know that that's bullshit and that was contrived. And the thing that pisses me off most about it is that the UFC is just thinking we're idiots. They're like, oh, well, they don't know what's happening. They will buy it. They'll eat it, hook, line, and sinker. They don't care. They'll say that it's a championship fight. We'll make a new belt for it, and it's going to be called the interim title. And then we're going to have an interim title champion that's going to fight Francis Ngannou, who's the real champion. And they want us to actually believe that. And I got to tell you, at some point, I'm pissed off that it's happened, but I'm more pissed off that, they're so confident that we'll just take whatever rule changes they make. Yeah, sure, we'll just make a new belt. By the way, 2 months after Francis Ngannou wins the actual belt, Ngannou says, look, I won the belt. I need a little bit of time off. I actually need also to maybe go visit my home country and just chill out a little bit. It's been a grind for the last few years, and I just beat Stipe for the second time that I fought him. First time he beat me. I'll fight him in September. And what has the UFC said? No, we have a shit card in August. We have a big hole in August. We need you to fight in August against Derrick Lewis. Francis is like, dude, I can't fight in August. I'll fight him in September. So what does the UFC says? UFC says, fuck you, Francis. We're gonna create another heavyweight belt just to really fuck you, and we're gonna bring Derrick Lewis in because he'll fight. He's a mercenary and he'll fight. He's a badass. And we're gonna bring in this new guy, Ciryl Gane, who's also, by the way, one of your training partners. So yeah, dude, a little bit to talk about with that. Anyone have any thoughts about that particular thing or anything else that you have on your mind tonight as we lead up to the fights? I'm just looking through the chats. Bodie Camboris, who is my damn running partner, is shouting out, the audio sounds good. Let's go, Tom. Running the show by himself. Give him some love. Yeah, dude, thank you, bro. You're out on the beach. You've got you've got marshmallows. You've got a bunch of your homies with you. And I'm here, dude. I'm holding up the fort. Like my shoulders right now are it's not heavy right now, but I reckon in about 4 hours, dude, while I'm pivoting all the different technology and doing the play-by-play, it might get a little bit heavy. But no, dude, I'm just kidding. Have a great time. We'll definitely be doing this together at UFC 266, 267, 268, and for the rest of time. But he needs a well-deserved break. So Tracy Camboris, who is my wife, says, have an amazing evening. Yo. Hey, sweetheart. Thank you. Yeah, I was going to try to be really cool with Tracy, but I got to see her tomorrow, so I can't be that cool. Does someone have the link to watch? Joe Aroka MMA says, yo, Joe, here's the thing, bro. We are a community. We're here to watch the fights, which are going to be on here in a moment. I'm just pulling up the UFC early prelims, and you're welcome to watch the fights with us. That's what it's all about. But if you don't have a link, well, that's up to you, bro. The suggestion is for you to buy a link somewhere. And if you can buy a link, amazing. Turn on the the live stream that you're watching, turn down the volume if you want to, or have a simulcast going, and join us. We've got a really cool vibe here. We've got a lot of people that have questions and are here for a certain feel of community, and also here for like the straight talk. You know, we don't have to do the party line bullshit about this interim belt, and you're gonna hear, you know, you're gonna hear Cormier, and I don't know if it's Cormier today. I think it's Cormier, Dominic Cruz, and John Anik. You're gonna hear them justify why this belt is valuable, and we all know the story. So that's an example of what we try to do here, which is really speak the truth, be as honest as possible, and yeah, cut through the shit. Juan Frères says John Jones is fighting Stipe. Is that confirmed? See, I did see that, homie. I saw that John Jones was mentioned with Stipe. I saw that Stipe agreed to it, but I have not heard anything from JJ. So is John Jones actually doing it? I'm thinking John Jones is powerlifting right now and drinking like a protein shake. Because all I do is see John Jones getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And so I don't know what the deal is, but he apparently wants to wait till next year. But, you know, Stipe is what, 38? Someone check how old Stipe is. But Stipe is getting older, right? And to be fair, John Jones is getting older. So, you know, we got to actually have some fights with you guys. And Stipe doesn't have many left. So let's see what's in store for that. The way I see it playing out here is the winner of this fight, and we'll talk about who you guys have for winning this fight, is gonna fight Ngannou. That's definitely gonna happen. And then I'm just trying to get the live stream going here for the early prelims. So bear with me. If you guys got the early prelims going, let me know. Let me know. I'm gonna get them going here in a minute. Watch. Let's see, events. Yeah, so John Jones fighting Future Anime. Chiesa is the man. Chiesa is the man, homie, but he's got a tough fight tonight. You remember what Vicente Luque has been doing recently. He basically retired Tyron Woodley. I mean, that was an incredible performance, but he had an absolute war with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Thompson won that fight, but I reckon Chiesa's got his hands full. I do love Chiesa as well, so let's see how that plays out. Samantha, you say Gane is a beast. I agree. He's a very skilled dude, and let's see how he can cope with Derrick Lewis's game plan, which is all I need to do is be good for, you know, we've heard this before with guys like Paulo Costa and Israel Adesanya. People are saying like Adesanya needs to like, you know, manage that space for 25 minutes. Costa needs to just land one punch. We've heard that with Francis Ngannou and Stipe. It actually worked with in that situation. But with regard to Derrick Lewis, it's kind of the same situation. He has the ultimate equalizer, the atom bomb, the nuclear weapon, and he does a lot of things to set it up really nicely. And so let's see how that plays out, because he's got some weapons that can sort of confuse things, can set things up. And Ciryl Gane is just a straight up badass martial artist. He has good distance management. He's got a Muay Thai game. He's got a kickboxing game. He's big. He's strong. He's athletic. He bounces around a lot. So that could be a really, really interesting fight on two guys that approach MMA on the opposite ends of the spectrum. Derrick, the Beast, the Black Beast, Lewis is a dude that's actually his attitude is, I'm going to get in a fight. I'm just going to get in a fight. And I just need to hit you once and knock you out. And Ciryl Gane is more of like a martial artist and looks at it almost, I mean, if you take it all the way back, I was watching some George St. Pierre stuff this afternoon. It's that approach, right? I'm going to beat you with my skill. I may not inflict massive damage on you, but I'm going to beat you in a way that counts as a victory. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Here's the thing. I have watched Derrick Lewis for a long time and studied him. And he is way more skilled than people give credit for. He's a dude that, yes, he has the ultimate equalizer, but, you know, he's setting things up with his flying knees, with jumping in with, you know, leg kicks, high leg kicks. But whenever I see him on the ground and he's, you know, getting dominated by people. I reckon that he has some game, and I've looked at it really closely. He has some game. He doesn't get completely overwhelmed. Now, DC versus Lewis was a thing. DC had a game plan that was pretty effective, and at that point, Derrick Lewis didn't have the answers then. But I do think Derrick Lewis is more special than a lot of people give him credit for. Zimmerman, you say Lewis is very similar to Wilder. Opponents know they have to be perfect the whole time. That's true, man. But I think Lewis is more talented than Deontay Wilder. I think he's got more in his arsenal. He's got more. Teddy Atlas talks about the delivery system to inflict the power punches. What's the delivery system? So Deontay Wilder's delivery system is sort of he paws with his jab, and then he'll come over the top with the power right. Or he will actually throw a jab and then power right. Derrick Lewis has many different tools that he's using to deliver the power right. So he'll lead with a whole bunch of stuff that's almost like presented as weapons, as strikes, as attempts to score. But really what they are is they're disguised delivery systems for the right to come over the top. That's my philosophy. Let's see. Samantha, Gane's Muay Thai is off the charts. I agree. He is a beast. He is absolutely a rock star in France. And there's a story behind that. I'm trying to get this live stream going, though. I'm having trouble getting the actual bloody watching the stream from the UFC. Let's see if I can get this going. Because I know the early prelims is happening. So let's get that going. Are you guys watching the early prelims? Let's see. How to watch. 264 or 265. Okay. Yeah. Here we go. Boom. Got it. Okay. Let's see if it comes on. Sign in. Bear with me, guys. I'm just trying to get this early prelims going so I can get you guys some actual play-by-play on what's playing right now. So currently, the early prelims are, let's see. Oh, here we go. Is this started? I believe we have started with Jamie Simmons and Johnny Munoz. I believe that's what this is, but let me just see. I'm just going to check, guys, with this to make sure, because I want you to get the... Yeah, I think this is it. I'm just going to check and see what the time is on this. Yeah, so this is the early prelims. Let me just give you a rundown, actually, of the card. And we'll see if this is actually the early prelim that we're waiting for. So the card itself is... Okay, so we start with the first fight is Munoz versus Simmons. So Munoz versus Simmons is an interesting fight. It is in progress, right, or it's in the walkouts right now. Munoz is 10-1. You know what I've done tonight as well? I have put down their sort of their fighting nicknames, because I think there's something in their fighting nicknames that I want to discuss with you guys. Like, I know they're there for a reason, but I also think that there's something in the reason why they picked them. It could be their fighting style, it could be part of their personality, it could be part of their character, but anyway, I've written their fighting names down. So Johnny Munoz is Kid Venbo. So I don't know Kvenbo, what that means. It must be some sort of personal thing, or it might be something that has to do with language or something else. But Jamie Simmons is the Afro Samurai. So to me, that indicates, like, okay, Jamie Simmons sees himself as, of course, a black dude, but also really, really connects with being part of that samurai mentality, that samurai culture. So that's their two nicknames to start with. Let's see. Fight past prelims. Yeah. There we go. We got it. Okay, so this is a bantamweight bout. Munoz is 5'9". Simmons is 5'6". Nothing really in the reach. Munoz has a 1-inch reach advantage. Simmons has a slight weight advantage. Bruce Buffer is replete in looks like a paisley gray, almost like a charcoal with like an outlined black sport coat, and then he's got I think he's got a turtleneck, but it might just be a black shirt with a tie on. I'm going to see what that is, but it looks pretty badass. The Jamie Simmons is I like to talk about like their hair situation, their tat situation, what they're wearing, all that stuff, just to give you guys a perspective of how shit's looking if you don't have the feed. If you do have the feed, then you can give me your perspective as well. So Jamie's got some cornrows that he's got like it looks like a spiral that looks really cool. He's just being introduced right now. He's got a nice beard. He's tapping Bruce Buffer on the intro. He looks ready for business. And on the other side, Johnny Munoz is wearing a white Venom. It's almost like bicycle short bottom. He's got red straps on his gloves, and he's just loosening up his arms. He is 10-1, and I think from my perspective, the UFC has a lot of high hopes for Johnny Munoz. He did lose to Nate Maness, and that was probably an unexpected loss. You know, it's kind of that thing where they set him up to win, and if it doesn't happen, then they got to start over again. Almost like the Chase Hooper thing, almost like who else had a little bit of smoke behind them when they came in. Let me get the round started here for us as well. In between rounds, for live. All right. There we go. Okay. We are ready. They have started in the middle of the ring. Like I said, Munoz is in white with like black stripes. Simmons is in gray, like a charcoal gray, almost like Bruce Buffer's sport coat, with some white pinstripes and the Venom logo in the back. They're just standing in the middle of the ring right now. Simmons takes a whack with a low outside leg kick, misses a swing and the miss, and does a 360 pirouette back to standing position. They're in the middle of the ring right now. They're just sizing each other up. Look, we're just under 5 minutes, just starting the fight, so just kind of getting a feel for each other. Just think about how you would feel stepping into a ring for the first time, looking at this other person and needing to figure out like how am I going to deal with this? What strategies does he have? What strategies do I have? How does he look? How strong does he look? What techniques does he have? What patterns is he showing me that I have recognized? What stuff is he showing me that looks kind of different or different than the stuff that we've been studying or been training for? So this feeling out process is typically in the first minute of a fight. Simmons with a nice straight left. Munoz with a left back. He doesn't connect. Neither one of them are connecting. To be fair, they're outside of range right now, so they're throwing punches to almost like to warm up, but not really to land at this point. As like, weird as that sounds, that's kind of, oh wait, here we go. They both lunge forward and swing past each other. But Simmons does land something on Munoz as Munoz is up against the fence. Simmons looks like he's more engaged right now, throwing a little left hook. Munoz is kind of standing back. He's got 1 foot up against the fence. Now he moves away from the fence. They're now back in the middle of the ring, in the middle of the cage, and still not a lot of action. I mean, to be fair, there's been several punches thrown. Let's call it like it is. Not a lot of contact at this point. Let's see what we got on the chat. So Samantha, you're saying Munoz is the fight. Okay. You like Munoz. All right, well, let's see what happens. Munoz just shot an outside leg kick to the upper thigh with his back leg. It did contact, but it didn't have much damage. I'd like to also give you guys some context on what's going on in the arena. It's fucking empty. Like, the front row is empty in the arena, and the UFC has turned into almost like a celebrity basketball game or like the All-Star game where people just don't show up to the early prelims. It looks like Munoz just slipped. But you know what I mean? Like, back in the day, or even now, if I had a ticket to an MMA fight, to a UFC pay-per-view, dude, I'd be there before the early prelims would start. I'd be just getting the vibe. You know, I'd be walking around, trying to sneak down into some earlier seats, definitely at this point, because all those seats are empty. I tried to get some good seats until I got, driven back to whatever other seats I had. But it's not like that anymore. You got Justin Bieber, you got, who else was there? Jake Paul, you got all these guys that are coming with, something, or women that are coming with something on their shoulder to be seen, and to kind of watch some fights. But as far as hardcore MMA fans, sure, there's plenty there, but it's not like old school UFC where it was just down and dirty. Joe Rogan was actually talking about back in the day. You guys may or may not remember this, but back in the day, the UFC, because he had Chad Mendes on as a guest, and they were talking about how Chad Mendes has now got a contract to fight in bare knuckle fighting. And Rogan was like, back in early UFC days, not everyone wore gloves. In fact, there was very few people that wore gloves. And you could wear anything. You could wear gi, you could wear shoes. And I remember that, but I kind of don't remember it. Like, it feels like it was, yeah, but I always kind of feel like the gloves were there, but I guess they weren't. Wow, Munoz just slams, like body slams Simmons right in the middle of the ring. That was a nice takedown. It was a sort of double underhook in the middle of the ring and just muscled him down. So at this point, Simmons has Munoz in his guard. Munoz is taking a very defensive position in the guard. Munoz is trying to posture up, but Simmons is kind of literally like underhooking his arms. One arm, now he's underhooked both of his arms, just kind of clamping him down. But Munoz plants and gets up and gets Simmons in a little bit of a sort of a guillotine from the top. That ends the first round. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Tell me where you guys are from. What are you here for? Are you here for the main event? Are you here for a particular fight? Samantha, I know you're here for the Gane fight. That seemed pretty obvious. And then someone else mentioned, just see, someone else, I'm just scrolling up here, this chat. Someone said that the UFC is definitely disrespecting the fans with throwing Ngannou to the side. Yeah, and that's Zimmerman. Chris, man, I totally agree. Like, there's another person that's even more disrespected right now, so I want you guys to let me know what you think about what's been going on with Max Holloway. Because the shafting that Max Holloway has gotten is historic. So let's remember that journey as these guys are ready to start round two. I'm just going to get the round started with the bell so that we are concurrent here. And then I'm going to talk about Max Holloway. So just bear with me a second. Looking at I think this is more than a minute. Anyway, here we go. All right. So let's talk about Max fucking Holloway, right? What do we remember? Okay, we remember he fought Alexander Volkanovski once, and yeah, he probably barely lost that fight. They have an immediate rematch, and the consensus say that Max Holloway won that fight, right? I mean, there's different ways of looking at it. If you remember, Max Holloway dropped Volkanovski twice in that fight at the end of, I think, the first and the second round. You could argue that Volkanovski was winning the round basically a little bit in striking, but when you knock someone down, clearly knock someone down, that's a pretty decisive thing to win rounds. So, okay, so Holloway loses to Volkanovski, gets a rematch, loses again, but the consensus is by most of the media and experts that Holloway won that fight. Fine, okay. Then Max Holloway fights Calvin Kattar in January. Do we remember what happened with that? It was one of the finest performances we've ever seen in MMA. My memory is Max Holloway landed more than 700 punches on Calvin Kattar. Not threw, but landed more than 700 punches against Calvin Kattar. So what happens after that? What happens after that is Alexander Volkanovski and Brian Ortega delay their fight, which is supposed to happen in the spring. So that fight is postponed because Volkanovski, I think, contracts COVID. The next move is the UFC says, okay, well, we'll just make Volkanovski and Ortega the tough coaches. Now we're in August. That tough season is still going, and Volkanovski and Ortega are set now to fight in September. All the while, Max Holloway has been waiting after one of the best. Hang on a second. Let me just tell you guys what's happening right now. Munoz has Simmons in a rear naked choke. He has double hooks in. He's got a body lock and a rear naked choke. Simmons breaks through it. The body lock is still in, and there's 2 minutes and 45 seconds left, so quite a bit of time left for Munoz to work this. And we'll come back to the Holloway comment here in a minute. Munoz just drags him back down. Simmons tried to get up and gets dragged back down. They're just fighting hands right now to see who is going to control this rear naked choke. And it looks like Munoz just snuck it in. I don't know how tight it is. It looks very tight, and he taps. Simmons taps. And Simmons is slow to get up. Munoz bows to him, very respectful, and Munoz is doing a victory lap around the cage. And Simmons is just getting up right now. So it looks like Johnny Munoz is 10-1. He's going to go to 11-1 with a rear naked choke from the ground against Jamie Simmons, who was 7-3. He's going to go to 7-4. The Afro Samurai takes another loss, and the kid Kavengo takes a win. I want to know what Kavengo means, actually. So the way he brought him down, you'll remember, is just a straight up. It's like Simmons tried to close distance, and at that point, Munoz literally sort of lowered, level changed, and grabbed Munoz around the waist, and then muscled him down. And at that point, there was a transition where Munoz took his back, body locked him, and then was fighting for about a minute until he could really sink in a deep rear naked choke, and he got him. You know, when you're fighting, when you're against someone and they've got control of you on the ground and there's about 3 or 4 minutes left, and they've got either hooks in or a body lock, and now you're just fighting hands, if they really know what they're doing to try to sink in a rear naked choke, it's super, super tough. I mean, you are, because they're setting you up as well. They're doing one thing to get you to move your hands one way so they can slip your hand, their hand in another way. What comes to mind is Khabib versus Dustin Poirier, and the way Khabib almost was playing, like he was going to set one arm under Poirier, and then you'll remember he set the other one in deep, and then that was it. Poirier tapped literally within seconds at that point. So Johnny Munoz is our first winner of the night. He is 11-1, and Daniel Cormier has the honors of the in-cage announcements or the interviews after the fights. You'll remember, or you may not have seen, that Joe Rogan isn't on this pay-per-view. And that's a first for a long time domestically. Joe Rogan has decided not to travel to the international pay-per-views because that sort of imposes on his schedule a bit too much. But he has typically done all of the domestic pay-per-views in the US. And at this point, I think he's on some sort of comic tour with a few. I don't think he's with Chappelle, but he's with some of his other, his band of buddies. And they're somewhere in the South and Midwest, so he chose to do that than this. And to be fair, if you're going to miss one UFC card this year, as far as star power UFC card, as far as oh my God, I need to see that fight UFC card, this is probably the one that doesn't have that fight on it. It has some really solid fights on it, but it doesn't have that, I've got to see McGregor versus Poirier. I've got to see Ortega versus Volkanovski. I've got to see, Jan Blachowicz versus Glover. I got to see, on and on. These types of super, super really important fights. Peter Yan versus Aljamain Sterling rematch. It has some solid fights, but as far as that really, really in the lights headline fight, Ciryl Gane, and you remember we did have Nunes versus Pena. And that got canceled off of this, which weakened the card even more. So Nunes contracted her COVID. I know she had it. Her partner Nina had it. And even their little daughter had it. So I hope they're all feeling better. But because of that, the card has been weakened even more. Zimmerman, this card isn't worth purchasing, honestly, unless you're putting in with the buddies. Yeah, that's true. Are you with buddies, Zimmerman? Let me know what your situation is. Or are you creatively watching it, let's say? Samantha says, why is McGregor trying to fight again? That's an embarrassment. Yeah, the whole, I don't know if you guys follow some stuff that McGregor's posting online recently, but oh my God. There have been he's hanging out in California right now. So Like the people that are around him are just in a very eclectic crew. Like he was hanging out with Justin Bieber on like these lounge chairs near the beach. He's smoking blunts. He's going around on his little his little scooter because he can't walk yet. He is, I mean, I guess he's enjoying life. Every now and again you see him in some sort of gym shots as well. But yeah, it seems like he is in a place where he's struggling. He's struggling a little bit. We're all like, kind of looking at our crystal ball to read what's going on psychologically with someone. But to me, what McGregor is doing is what I guess a lot of people would do. Dominic Cruz has mentioned it. Is they would say, look, I lost that fight. I wasn't prepared for it. Actually, I broke my leg, but before I broke my leg, I was in bad shape already. Like the fight was not going the way I wanted it to go. That might be a position, a self-disclosure, a reflection that then you can build on. Then you can start, kind of building out a solution. Okay, well, why wasn't I in that position? Why did Poirier actually outstrike me at that point in the fight? We're trading shots, and I'm supposed to have all the smoke in that first round. I'm supposed to be the one that can put Poirier to sleep in the first round. That's the way it's supposed to go. And when it ended up happening, you'll remember, is that they're trading punches, and Poirier outstrikes McGregor, and McGregor shoots for a takedown. And in the process, he gets rammed up against the cage. He sinks in his own version of a guillotine. And then at that point, they drop to the ground. And you remember Poirier's like really planting up and trying to hammer down lots of ground and pound elbows and smashing with punches. McGregor's trying to hit him with some up kicks. There was a question of whether McGregor was holding. So McGregor's down on the ground. Poirier's like over the top of him like this. McGregor is at times, and you can see it in the replay, holding the inside of Poirier's gloves and doing the up kicks, which are dangerous kicks. I mean, that clearly can knock him out. So at some point, Poirier is like thinking the risk of me being in top position and inflicting ground and pound on top of McGregor is higher than the amount of damage I'm causing right now, because he's actually holding me in a position where he can knock me out. So Poirier gets up, invites McGregor to get up, and then the fight's over in 30 seconds. They get up, they exchange, a couple shots, and at that point, McGregor plants on his ankle and snaps his ankle. And from there, it's been a really, really toboggan run downhill for McGregor's behavior. From the moment the fight stopped, he's yelling, "It's a doctor stoppage! It's a doctor stoppage! Doctor stoppage!" Right? He's like in desperation. This is a guy that is on top of the world and controls the media and the language of what's going on and how things are handled. Like, he's more in control of the situation within the UFC at times than Dana White is at press conferences. He was a guy in desperation to not be further humiliated by that being just a straight loss on his record. So he's yelling, pleading for it to be a doctor stoppage, which it was, but it's still a loss on his record. So then from there, there's insults being thrown towards Poirier's wife, and it devolves from there. And since then, McGregor is, in my mind, kind of too happy to, like, you want to get over things and move on. I get it, but he seems like he's not accepted it. He's not embraced that, look, this happened. He's justifying it as, look, it was a fluke. Poirier didn't deserve to win, and thus we're going to do it again. And the next time we fight, I'm going to have titanium in my legs so that I can hit him with outside shin kicks or outside leg kicks to his calf, and it'll never break my leg. I think that's kind of the philosophy he mentioned in a tweet or something. So yeah, it's interesting times with Conor McGregor. I really, really, for his benefit, hope that he doesn't fight Poirier first fight back. I think the fight to make for McGregor is Nate Diaz. Both of them are lesser versions of themselves. Diaz is a fight that McGregor can win, It's not a sure thing that he'll win it, but at this point, if he's fighting top 5 people, if he's fighting, the Charles Oliveras, if he's fighting the Michael Chandlers, the Justin Gaethjes, the Dustin Poiriers again, dude, he needs to have he needs to have at least one win that he can build up real confidence. Because we all felt it as well leading up to that fight. It was almost like a false bravado. He was trying to, sort of conjure up the old Conor, trying to create that energy of the old super, super confident Conor. And I don't know if you guys saw it, but I was definitely like, this doesn't feel quite right. Now, you could say, oh, well, that's, armchair quarterback 2020, in retrospect. But I really did think that while I was watching, and I was like, dude, this doesn't feel like, he's trying too hard, and he's a little bit edgy, and he's just a little bit like sensitive. All that stuff felt a little off for me. Let's just catch up to the card. Also, our moderator, Becky, says, hey guys, Bodie, the other half of the team here so Bodie's actually saying this, saying give Tom some love and share the stream out on your socials. Yes, do so. So Bodie's actually doing my job for me from the beach. Yeah, if you're able to, let's share this out on the socials. Currently we have about 20 people on the stream. Let's get it up to about 40 and see how that goes. Also, Bodie's not here, but just as a little side thing, we're at, I think, 735 subs on YouTube. We get monetized at 1,000. If we could get up to 750, 760 tonight, that would be amazing. So if you are inclined, there is a link at the top of the Facebook page, at the top of the YouTube page, of the comments. Just click on that link and it's literally a quick click, and then you can be back. And that will subscribe you to our channel. So let me tell you a little bit about our channel. It is Homie and the Dude. We are a father and son podcast team. We also do tabletop gaming, but one of our real passions is MMA, and we've been running these live streams for the better part of 2 years, and it's been awesome. So we enjoy the hell out of that. When we run it together, we're both doing the technology, and so we're both kind of, Bodie's mostly doing the tech stuff. So let me just bring up, actually, with regard to the tech, I'm failing on that. This next fight is Leonardo versus Gatto. So let's get them up. And so let me just tell you a little bit about this next fight before we move on. It is Victoria Leonardo versus Melissa Gatto. Melissa Gatto is 6-0-2, so she's won 6 fights and drawn 2, which is kind of weird. But Melissa Gatto hasn't fought since 2018. So there's questions there. Why? Is it injuries? Is it lack of motivation? Is it... Let's kind of explore that a little bit more. Victoria Leonardo. By the way, Victoria Leonardo's nickname is Fury. So what do we think about that? Do you think she... Samantha, hang on, let me just read Samantha's. And I want to read Zimmerman's as well, because that's a good idea. Samantha says, you can tell you look nervous. You look like he had too much whiskey, maybe. Yeah, I mean, there was something. We're talking about Conor McGregor right now. He just looked a little bit, he just didn't have the mojo that he usually does. He didn't sort of control the narrative like he usually does. He was trying to do that. He's trying to conjure up, bad McGregor, mean McGregor, and it just didn't feel quite right. Zimmerman says something that's interesting. You say, you like to see McGregor versus Ferguson, and dude, I think that would be a pretty smoking fight, because I think they're both very depleted, and when you got 2 guys that are like that, it'll be a very interesting situation to see who has what's left, and if they're both at a similar level, then we get to a point where 2 lesser fighters are fighting just on heart, and that's when you can get just absolute wars. So I'm thinking about some of the late, like Nate Diaz fights, or Nate Diaz against Leon Edwards, where Nate Diaz is a depleted version of himself. He isn't the same guy, but he's just fighting on his heart. And at that moment, he puts in a performance that's pretty impressive. We have the ring girl that's just stepped out of Leonardo versus Gatto. So we're getting ready to start this first round, and they're going to touch hands here and start round one. So as they start round one, we have a couple things to pick up on. I still need to circle back to the Max Holloway thing, because we didn't talk about how jacked that whole situation was. We left it at that Volkanovski and Ortega are fighting in September, and however that plays out, that could end up being a rematch. Who the hell knows? So what happens with Holloway? At this point, they're saying Holloway is going to fight Yair Rodriguez, which is a super high risk, low reward fight. So Holloway has been basically put on ice for a year, and now he has to fight Rodriguez, which does nothing for him except keep him active. And by the way, he's one of the all-time best lightweights ever, and this is the treatment he gets. So we talk about that in reference to what's happening with Ngannou right now and how this interim heavyweight title has left a really bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. Yeah, let's see. All right, let's talk about this fight as we're seeing it. So 3:55 left, and Leonardo's in sort of the gray, light gray, and she's just taken Gatto down and has side control on Gatto right now. And Gatto is getting back on her feet and reverses it and gets into Leonardo's guard. Now Gatto is moving for side positions. Now they're going north-south. It looks like Leonardo's hunting for a sub right now, hunting for an arm. She is hunting for an arm right now. She's trying to break Gatto's arm and get a armbar, but Gatto's got both of her hands around that arm. I don't think Leonardo's going to unlock it. I don't think she's going to be able to pull out that that armbar. But she does have one hook in, Leonardo does, and she's going for a second hook. She's now almost in a similar position as we were with Johnny Munoz and Jamie Simmons, where she has one hook in, she's hunting for that other hook. So when I talk about a hook in, we're talking about both legs inside the other person's body. You're on their back and you're trying to get your legs inside hooked into their body so that you can really, really control them. For those of you that aren't seeing the feed, Leonardo's on top of Gatto, almost like riding her back from the top, but Gatto's now trying to get up on all fours and almost slip Leonardo over the top of her, but she can't do it. Leonardo's got a really firm, mostly leg grip on Gatto. Samantha, you say you've got Gatto, but Gatto just spins it. So Gatto spins now into Leonardo's guard, but Gatto is, I don't know what's going on, but she doesn't have, there she goes. Now she frees up her arms, and she's firmly now in Leonardo's guard. Let's see what Gatto can do from this position. Again, she hasn't fought since 2018. She's only fought, 8 times. So there is that. She is fairly new to the UFC. Leonardo's 8-3. Leonardo fought really well when she was in Invicta. She's got a really good kicking game, and she's also got a good ground game because she has controlled this ground portion of the first round quite well. Even though she's in her own guard right now, again, she's hunting an arm. She's actually got, it's almost like she's got it's like a rubber guard, or at least a high body lock from the guard position. But it looks like she was going for a rubber guard. She's got body lock from the bottom right now. If you got body lock from the bottom, you're being very defensive. You're not trying to strike because you have no leverage to generate. So when you have that, you're just really trying to keep that person close to you and ride out that bottom position. There's a minute left or so in this first round. Leonardo's trying to sneak out the side. She's trying to sneak out the side. And Gatto is just splaying out a little bit, keeping her in there. Gatto is still, Gatto now gets up and invites Leonardo to stand. They're both standing now. And so there was 3 minutes where they were on the ground. And Leonardo's trying to get Gatto into a submission. Gatto gets top position, not a lot of damage. They're standing now and they're clenched in the middle of the cage right now. Just in clenches, they're exchanging underhooks. So one of them has an underhook, the other one has an underhook. And they're just kind of almost like power dancing in the middle of the cage. Now Leonardo's pinning Gatto against the cage. Gatto delivers a nice knee to the body. Leonardo tries to deliver her own version of a knee to the body. It's a little softer. Gatto throws an outside leg kick to the head that I think was blocked, but it was a nice kick. She kind of fakes an inside leg kick to the shin, and that is the end of that round. So a lot of back and forth. Not an extreme amount of damage, but I will say this is going to test their cardio. It was a very frenetic first round, very energetic first round. So let's see how they both cope. Samantha says it's a debut fight for her. So you're saying a debut fight for Gatto in the UFC? Because if so, that makes sense. That makes sense. So this is her debut fight in the UFC. If you can confirm that, Samantha, that would be great. While we're kind of hanging out and watching this second fight of the early prelims, we're seeing that Victoria Leonardo's taking in some water. Melissa Gatto is standing up. I'm just going to give you a little bit of a snapshot of inside the Toyota Center in Houston. It's empty. There's no one there. Like, it's empty seats. You've got the announcers, you got the judges, and you might have a couple dozen people. That might be an exaggeration, but there is not a lot of people there. Well, actually, now it is filling up a little bit. So I'll qualify that and say there's maybe 50 people that are around like the immediate